One of the first things we learn about self-improvement is the importance of keeping negative emotions in check. And it's true, our negative emotions can destroy the quality of our lives. And so things like anger and guilt need to be managed. In fact, we need to gain mastery over those negative emotions. But here's a word of caution. Not all negative emotions are equal. And for a moment, what we want to talk about today is grief and how it differs from anger, guilt, and some of the other negative emotions that we might advise people to manage. Now, first of all, it's not wrong to help somebody to deal with anger better. Or if somebody's dealing with excessive guilt and you can intervene and help them to get over it, that's a very worthy goal. And as a life coach, I've spent hours trying to help people to appreciate the fact that their anger was not their friend, and that skills to manage negative emotions are well worth acquiring. But I had to learn the hard way the importance of not telling people how to feel when it comes to grief. You see, grief is unique and special, and we all grieve in our own personal ways. So to tell someone else how to feel when they're grieving is just the same as telling them that we don't care about them, that we don't get them. It's a way to communicate that we lack empathy. I learned this with a relatively insignificant matter years ago, and I don't want to diminish the severity of losing something valuable. But when we lose a loved one or a relationship, that is really, really critical. My story is about someone who lost their photographs. So relatively speaking, losing a loved one or losing photographs, we could see that losing photographs might be lower in the hierarchy here. But here's my story. I was traveling with a group, and there was a young woman traveling with us to New York City, and she saw Times Square for the first time in her life. Now, as a side point, if you want to enjoy the joy of seeing something for the first time, even if you've already been there, take somebody with you who's never been there and experience it vicariously through their eyes, because that's the way to really see the joy. And that's what happened. I saw Times Square, even though I'd been there many times before, but I saw it through her eyes with all of her wide-eyed wonder at being in the big city. And she was just ecstatic, taking pictures of everything all around her. Well, after a couple of days of photography, she accidentally deleted everything. All the photographs were gone. Now, I knew that we had a limited amount of time to enjoy our vacation, a limited amount of time to retake those photographs. And so, meaning well, I told her to get busy and take more photographs, to not let the devastation of having deleted her photographs ruin her travel. And I really did mean well. What I didn't understand was that by telling her that she could take new photographs, I was diminishing her grief. And it actually damaged my relationship with her, because even though I didn't say, oh, just suck it up, I'm sure that's what she heard. Now, in the subsequent years, I've learned how I probably should have handled that situation. And here it is. Whenever we're dealing with someone who's going through tragic loss, it doesn't do any good to tell them that their loss is negligible or minimal. It doesn't do any good to tell them how we have dealt with that kind of loss. In fact, when we tell them that it's going to be all right, sometimes what they hear is that we just don't get it. What have I learned? What do I want to share in the way of wisdom about grief? Here it is. Weep with those who weep. Don't try to hurry the process of grief. And don't force your way in. Sometimes even those very close to us will keep us at arm's length, because we can only walk with them through that dark place to the degree that they are ready to allow us. Now, this is so important. I would just want to say it another way. Don't presume that you are welcome to experience the despair to the same degree that the person you love is experiencing it. First of all, you can't. Their grief is their grief. And second, they may need to have that space where they keep you at arm's length for a brief time. And the kindest thing we can do, the thing that will endear ourselves to them best, is to give them that space and allow them to grieve. Don't in any way minimize what they're going through. If you're interested in learning more about the grieving process, there's a book that I recommend. It's called The Grieving Brain, and the subtitle is The Surprising Science of How We Learn from Love and Loss. And it's by Mary Frances O'Connor, PhD. So if you'd like a deep dive into what science can teach us about grief and how to manage it, how to be a good companion when someone else is grieving, that's an excellent place to start. Now, in subsequent videos on this channel, we'll talk about dealing with other negative emotions. But right now, the purpose of this video is to remind everyone that grief is its own unique animal, and it needs to be treated very differently than we might treat other negative emotions.